goes to right. Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah!
What's up, everybody? What's going on? It is Deibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to Party on Broad. Welcome to the War Room. Today we are talking a new draft prospect. He is Mr. Tre Jones. Joining us today is my man Thiago. Follow him on Twitter at tscabia. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Just hanging out here. Hopefully the NBA starts up soon. In the meantime, just watch a bunch of guys. Hopefully we get one of these guys. So.
Yep. And also joining us today is the Austin Krell. Follow him on Twitter at KrellTPL and his other podcast. It is the Feed to Embiid. You can find that at the TPL YouTube channel or anywhere you find your pods. What's up, man?
I just have one request.
Uh-oh.
Can NBA TV stop playing like 1980s dunk contests and like put like back to back old playoff games on from like 2008 going forward for the entire quarantine? I don't need to see 1970s this day in history. Give us the 2008s to now NBA playoff games over and over and over again. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Love it. So on tap for today, we are talking Tre Jones, his strengths, his weaknesses, his college performance, and we're going to pick our best fits for Tre Jones. Make sure you check out the Blue Root TPL on Twitter and check out thepaintlines.com for all of our NBA draft player profiles. All right, Thiago, you wrote an amazing breakdown on Mr. Tre Jones. Tell us a little bit about his college performance, man.
Sure, man. Tre Jones is an interesting guy because if you look at it from a freshman year to a sophomore year, it's two entirely different players. If you guys can recall, like freshman year was the Zion and the RJ Barrett season, and Tre Jones was kind of like a bystander in that team. He had two ball-dominant players that really played off each other. So Tre Jones was kind of guy to sit in the corners, watch, didn't get in the way, make sure that those guys got the ball at all times. And I don't know if it was a function of that or his own mechanics, but his shot freshman year was just basically non-existent. Once Zion and RJ and Cam Reddish, they all left, they got a freshman class coming in, and the guys that they came into Duke were a little bit different. They're not as ball dominant. They play off each other a little bit differently. So Tre Jones kind of really took on a prominent role in Duke's offense. And you can tell his usage spiked up by 9%, which is pretty significant for a full-time player. So from that, a lot of interesting things started coming out from Tre Jones' games. First and foremost, the shot. He made a 10% improvement in three-point shooting from 26% up to close to 36%, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a big jump right there and something to keep an eye on moving forward. And I think the group that Duke had this year really played into Tre Jones really, really well. There's a lot of they ran a lot more pick and roll, and they had a freshman there by the name of Vernon Carey who can really roll and make moves towards the basket. They play fast. They have a young core team and a guy by the name of Cassius Stanley who we may talk in the future, who really, really feasted off that type of playing style. And I think Tre really fell into a more comfortable role with that team. I mean, he really took on a leadership role with the team. He took on a more decisive role in the offense. And I think from the guy we see today from the sophomore year back to the freshman year are two entirely different players. And I think it's really worth now talking about Tre Jones perhaps either at the top of the second round or maybe even in the bottom half of the first round. So I'm interested to hear what you guys' perspective are on Tre Jones. But for me, again, that transformation from freshman year to sophomore year was something that really stood out for me for Tre.
It's a big one. Will the real Tre Jones please stand up? That's especially this student man. Go ahead, Austin. What's one of Tre Jones' strengths?
So I mean, I do, and this isn't like a strength. It's like a physical strength, like a skill strength, but rather I do think it speaks a lot to his capabilities and his potential, and then maybe his decision making. He was often the guy who had the ball in his hands down the stretch for Duke, and that's a roster that is constantly loaded with top end talent. And Coach K is probably also has it somewhere in his mind. He's trying to groom his one and dones for the next step, and so maybe they would be the beneficiaries of those big moments. as opposed to like someone who's a sophomore and is taking a little more development. But Coach K had the ball in Tre Jones' hands throughout the season in crunch time, and that shows a lot of faith in his point guard, and that means that he believes in Tre's ability to make the right play, make big shots, and also make the right pass when the time comes. And so I do think that decision making is a big bonus for him.
Yeah, when I think of Tre Jones, I think of defense, man. This dude is a ball hawk on defense. He's got incredibly quick hands. He averaged 1.8 steals per game in college, and he's got really good quickness. He's probably the best defensive point guard in this draft class. He's he's an intelligent defender. He possesses great anticipation in those passing lanes. It's just that's to me where Tre Jones is going to make his bread and butter, at least to start off in the NBA. Any reaction to that, Thiago, and another strength?
I think you touched on it, Chris, and I think one more thing to really pull out from his game is the transition element. I mean, you watch Duke, anytime there was a rebound, anytime there was a turnover, first pass was towards Tre Jones and let's run. And I think to what Austin was saying, teammates have a lot of faith in him, and his ability to really feed and reward his teammates is something that it's a very advanced for a guy so young. I mean, he understands how to play the open court, how to get guys the ball in transition, and how to reward his guys who are, busting their ass up and down the court. And I think that element of it really plays out with Duke. I mean, they feasted on a bunch of open court points, and a big reason was Tre Jones. His passing, his vision, and his ability to get up and down the court with his teammates was something that really stood out for me.
Yeah, the second thing I think of with Tre Jones is he is extremely unselfish. Maybe a little bit unselfish, too unselfish per se. But let's move on to some of his weaknesses. Austin, do you have a weakness for Tre Jones?
Yeah, I mean, he can't start on an NBA team until that jump shot resembles something that isn't like a catapult across the room. I mean, there were times this year where he would take jumpers and they just weren't even close. And I think the mechanics need a lot of refining. And I do believe that most prospects do have the accuracy and the feel somewhere within them. It's just about refining the mechanics. But right now, I mean, he can't start on a good NBA team. And I don't see him being taken before the mid-20s. So
yeah,
that leaves him as a backup on a bad team or on a good team, fighting for minutes again with other backups.
Yeah, you look at his size; he's only 6'1", and if he's not a consistent knockdown shooter, what's your reaction to that? Do you think his shot translates at the next level, Thiago?
I think there are signs. If you look at his free throw percentage, there's some signs there of a possible a shooter there. I'm not saying by any means a high volume efficient guy, but a guy who can demand some respect. I think there were some improvements made, obviously, from freshman year to sophomore year. But yeah, I mean, you look at the shot, you look at the player, you look at the motion. There's a little bit of hesitation there. And again, he's not a very dynamic shooter, so it's mostly off the catch. It's I'm open, I have 10 feet of space, and here it goes, and hopefully it goes in, hopefully it doesn't. There's not a lot of dynamic elements of his shooting behind just basic catch and shoot. Or he'll pull up on some guys, and if he has the space, he feels confident. But again, I mean, he's not going to be a guy who you're like, all right, game on the line here, take us home, trades. It's just not going to happen.
He's no Ben Simmons with a jump shot. That's for damn sure.
Let's not open that kind of worms. Let's not go there. All right. Quick question, Thiago. He's 6'1", a very good defensive player. How many positions do you think this guy can defend at the NBA level, man?
He's a one position defender. Now he's a really strong point of attack defender. So obviously, if you have LeBron James, the point guard, he's not going to be able to deal with the physicality. But you touched on, I mean, he's a strong point of attack guy. He sticks with the ball handler. He remains balanced. He rarely gives up any ground. So I think he's going to be able to defend most guys on the NBA from a from a on-ball defense. But again, if you start talking about switching to the 2-3, and then at that point, it's forget about it. So,
All right.
yeah.
All right. So let's move on to team needs. Where does Tre Jones fit in the NBA? Which team is most likely to draft him? Lead us off, Austin. Give me a team, man.
So I think a team that would be interesting would be the Miami Heat. Damn Miami Heat. And here's why. They're sort of in that transition phase where like they have a couple guys who can kind of play point guard, and like Kendrick Nunn, but they also like Dragic is now their sixth man. So that they really, and Jimmy Butler is the point guard, but he's not really a point guard. And so I do kind of wonder maybe how that plays in. I think he would be a good fit down there because first, just a killer defender. He's gonna, pose a lot of stress for opposing point guards, and I think the way he can get his hands in the passing lanes, remain active. That's a big culture thing down there in Miami, and I think that he could really be a good fit for them, while also not like, I guess, taking shots away from Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Nunn, and amongst other guys too.
Awesome. How about you, Thiago?
I tend to go towards the top of the second round, and a team that I think could use him is a team like the Charlotte Hornets. And the reason why I say that is they have a lot of young, athletic guys who are not really any good. So, like Malik Monk, Miles Bridges.
Jack Duffy's going to go nuts, man.
Run up and down the court and didn't really do much. So, I think Tre can really kind of enable that element of their game, just that athleticism, feeding them, again, ball in the fast break and throwing them alley-oops, getting them involved in the game, and hopefully it sparks some sort of other parts of their game that maybe comes into a full NBA player. But I just think a team that can deal with the growing pains and can kind of enable their young guys to run and be athletic, I think would be a good fit.
Obviously, I'm going to go with the Sixers here, guys. The Sixers have 4 second-round picks. Well, what school did Elton Brand go to? Come on, guys. There's clearly a connection here. Jones is arguably the best perimeter defender in this draft. And what did the Sixers struggle the most with last year? It was pick-and-roll defense. So this is a guy that could be, targeted in that second round for the Sixers. I don't know how much playing time he would get. He'd probably easily start off with the Delaware Blue Coats, no doubt about it. But, man, how sold are you on Zaire Smith? That guy is clear trade bait this offseason. I doubt he's coming back. So could the Sixers be looking for another guy, another defensive guy to groom down in Delaware? I see as Tre Jones as a really, not maybe the best fit, because of the jump shot. It all comes down to that jump shot, right? But he's going to be there. He's a second-round pick to me, probably early to mid second-round pick. And the Sixers have 2 top second-round pick guys. Elton Brand is going to be like, give me that dookie, baby. It's 100%. Any reaction to that, Thiago, man?
Well, let me ask you a question. What if Elton Brand takes him at the 22nd pick in the draft?
Oh, forget it. I'm my computer across the room. Nah.
Because I think it is a real possibility, and I would have the same reaction.
Nah, he's not a first-round pick. Go ahead, Austin.
I vehemently disagree. I don't think he's a Sixers fit in the slightest. So I just don't see a way that it's a beneficial pick for either him or neither him nor the team. The Sixers, he's not shooting yet. He's not a good shooter yet. So I'm not sure where his role is with the team currently. And in which case, you're wasting a pick that you could use to add much needed depth to the team. Are you going to trade him at the deadline to get more depth, to get an asset back? If you're not playing him, is he going to have any trade value? If you're not playing him, he's not going to develop much. And I guess I get the idea of putting him in the G League, letting him grow there. But I also just think that there are other the draft is such a rich draft with wings this year, why not just load up on guys who can play multiple positions, can shoot the ball, and can defend?
100% agree with that.
Why we had to be the one team that always gets the guy who doesn't shoot the ball?
He can shoot a little bit.
Yeah, it's not like he's not. I mean, this guy definitely has a mid-range jump shot. He definitely can pull up. He can definitely shoot from three. It's just the question is, which Tre Jones are you getting? So,
one more thing, Chris. I think when we talk about the Sixers fit, like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen Zion run up and down the court and have Alonzo just feed him a perfect pass right in the breadbasket, easy 2 points. And I think of like Ben Simmons in the open court, not as a ball handler, but a guy who can just outrun anybody in the court and get there, quick. And having Tre Jones just feed him that same pass and start getting Ben scoring in the open court and not so much passing. And I think that's a good fit there. Obviously, it's not worth a first-round pick, but I think there is a little bit of a fit there that it's worth exploring. So.
All right. So make sure you follow Austin on Twitter. He is KrellTPL. Check out the Feed to Embiid on Twitter at the Feed to Embiid. Check out my man Thiago. He is T Scabia for Austin, for Thiago, for myself. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.
Sixers win it! Wow! Oh, man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook